What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Twinsunz podcast, episode 49. I'm Shane,
I'm Josh.
and we are live on Twitch for, I think, our third or fourth episode now. So we're going to be doing this for the foreseeable future. So we upped our stream game a little bit. We got some different things going on. So we can hopefully walk you through with the patch notes in video. So if you are listening and you do want to ever watch while you work or anything like that, we have a YouTube channel. You can check that out. But episode 49 is exciting, Josh, because just today we got a huge look at a lot of new cards coming out.
Yes, we did. We got to look at a new meta, hopefully. So,
Yeah, hopefully. So not only did we get patch notes, which were exciting, some really good changes in there. I think some were very wanted by the community. I saw a few of the suggestions that community members even made a long time ago, all kind of come to fruition now, which is great. Something's lacking. We'll jump into that. But also, we knew we were getting Aphelios today or tomorrow, but
yes.
we did not know that every region was getting one spicy card, or not every region, but multiple regions are getting one spicy card, and he was also getting a bunch of Targon support cards as well. He looks
Yeah,
a
it's
lot
awesome.
more interesting after today.
Oh, yeah, a ton more interesting. Actually, we were talking, I know, and like before on previous casts, and we didn't know if, they were going to just release, what they've shown so far. And then when the release comes out, his support cards come out, which would have felt very clunky in a release standpoint. So I'm really glad that they went ahead and gave us some extra cards in this little champion release.
Yeah, well said. For sure. I think, he's definitely, after seeing the new cards, I can see why he needed some support, so I'm happy about that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Before we dive in, as always, we're brought to you by RunterraCCG.com. We got their logo in the top right here, so check those guys out. They're super sweet. As of late, there's been a ton of articles. I mean, we have a ton of new content coming out, breaking down all the new stuff. But in particular, Random 7 just put out a Burblefish Twisted Fate Ezreal deck guide. I don't know if you've been seeing that deck on ladder, Josh.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. It's
Everywhere.
the hot sauce. Random Seven put out a sweet deck guide on that deck. It's
Yeah.
really really solid. And then if you're looking for
Well,
something offbeat, Mezume's got you covered with 5 offbeat decks as well.
yes. Yeah. I'm sure a ton of people are looking at that guide because when 7 of the top 10 players on the NA leaderboard are using that deck,
Yeah.
I think people are going to try and climb with it. So
Oh,
it's just
absolutely.
everywhere. I've seen
Yes.
it basically in every tournament lineup, unless they're trying to just like counter it a ton. And then I've also seen Twitter argue, like on Twitter, people arguing about if there should be mind meld or not mind meld on it.
Yeah.
So when
Yep.
they're nitpicking a one of in the deck, it's being used by a ton of people. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The mind meld argument's great. Last one I want to highlight too is we skipped last week, so there's a bunch more articles as well. But Agigas put out a really nice hand reading, play with their hand revealed article. So it's all about how to predict what your opponent has in their hand. There's even quizzes in the article at the end, so you can play along at home and try to actually guess what was in the opponent's hand as you go through that. So really sweet, fun articles as always. Check out that site. Josh, normally we go through like some stuff we learned, moments of the week. We haven't been doing that a whole lot because we've had so many guests on, and I think this week we should skip it as well. We got too much to talk about.
there's
Um,
a lot.
there is a ton. So you said we'll go through patch notes first, yeah? Patch notes?
That sounds good to me. And then the most exciting for the end,
Yeah, yeah. We'll
back
save all
half.
the good, sweet new cards coming out for the end. All right, let's jump over to patch notes. So here we got patch 2.1, and there's a lot going on. So we know we're getting Aphelios. That's coming out. We'll talk about that in a second. But we're getting a whole lunar celebration little event, mini event type thing. I don't know. It's a
Yeah, I call it a mini event.
mini event. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not an event in the terms of buy a battle pass, do all that stuff, but it's an event. It's a 7 day event. You log in, you get a free reward, including Aphelios on day one, which is super
Yeah,
nice.
it's awesome.
So we should all just get an Aphelios when we wake up tomorrow, which is pretty sweet. I guess not when we wake up, depending on where you're at when the patch note hits,
Depending.
but pretty sweet. Yeah, and then you essentially get a card each day as you go, and then if you do all the quests that are based around this lunar stuff, you get actually a unique card back that has like this sweet looking bowl thing on it. It's really
Yeah,
nice. Yeah.
yeah. It's. I'm assuming it's year of the bull.
Yeah.
So it makes sense if anyone watched the little video and Alistar's putting whatever the ball into the tower.
Right.
And they all have bull horns. So yeah, it definitely is year of the bull. So
Yeah, so I mean, it's a really fresh looking card back. Really impressed with it. Some of their card backs I haven't been like too fond of, but feel like they've been stepping up their game. So I mean, hopefully they keep going in this direction. We also got, I think it looks like you get one of each of the spells on day 7. Do you see that?
It looks like, yeah, it says like 8 spells, and then it just has each one is unique. So I guess you get one of each spell.
Yeah, it's kind of
Um,
crazy.
so I guess they're giving just one ofs of every card that's being released,
Yeah,
right?
I guess it does appear that way. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I know I'm not going to make it to day 7 before I craft all that. So I'm definitely going to have to craft all that before then. But, it does say new extra copies of any cards will be converted into shards. So they have that safety net, so we'll still get shards. So that's super sweet. But yeah, I mean, that seems like a nice little event. These things are pretty cool that they just do it. It looks like it says expires in 22 days. It looks like you actually have a lot of time to get that into. So that's pretty sweet.
hmm Yeah,
Uh,
so there should be no issues. Just you log in, get the cards.
yep.
And then I'm sure if you still have Targon path to go, I'm sure you could get some of the cards that way also. So
Right. Yeah.
like the
Exactly.
Targon region rewards.
Yeah, and it says there's going to be some type of quest. We don't really know what they are, but there's going to be a different quest each day, so you can get different rewards and stuff like that through that. So pretty sweet. And it's Year of the Ox, apparently. Apparently, it's not a bull. It's an
Oh,
ox.
Year of the Ox. Yeah, that makes sense.
Year of the Ox.
The new Guardian's called like the Ox Club or whatever, Club Ox.
There you go.
That makes a lot more sense.
Then they just, they say, look at this sweet lunar celebration. This is really cool. And then they just go, hey, check out these card updates. And they just start going, they go hard with card updates. So the last thing we got was Viktor, Zoe, and Riven. And since then, we really haven't had any change other than to go hard, right? It's the only card we got changed at all. It wasn't even go hard,
Yeah.
right? It was pack your bags, technically.
Yeah, pack your bags. It's crazy the roller coaster ride that the meta has been like with like top decks, I should say, because relatively there have been like the same decks in the meta since we got the new cards.
Yeah.
But it's pretty funny how it's like new decks are still being discovered. Most recently the Burblefish deck. So, um, pretty interesting how even after months after the cards have been released and only one patch, there's still new decks coming out. So.
Yeah, it does feel like people have been like kind of complacent the last 2 mini expansions. They've just kind of just been like, yep, like meta solved already. Let's not really play around too much. Like, Riven and Victor got played around with for like, I don't know, a week
A
maybe.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of like, yeah, they're done. And, they both got buffs here. So, I mean, obviously they were slightly underpowered, or at least that's the perception. But, like, yeah, it definitely did settle. And then, Burblefish got roasted when it came out. It's like, oh, this thing sucks. And then Zoe got
I was
roasted when she
like,
came out.
yeah, I saw Burblefish and I was like, are elusives back? And then no one,
No one
I was
cared.
like, yeah, no one cared. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, Burblefish and Iterative is like really strong. And then like 3 weeks later, there's a whole deck around it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yup.
I was on to something, but not
Yup.
the right way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, seriously, it's I mean, that's crazy. So here we have the next large patch. So a lot has changed. Misfortune comes in first. I'm kind of shocked she got hit. I mean, I'm okay with it. Scouts has been really strong.
Yeah.
The deck's amazing. Misfortune finds some homes in other places frequently. But she's just getting overwhelm removed from her leveled up version, which doesn't always apply to every situation, but it does add a little bit more damage output that I guess she needed to get simmered down a little bit.
Yeah, it seemed like one of those like top end things that ended up being overkill. Like she
Right.
already deals 3 damage, and then in scouts she's dealing 6 damage per turn, and then she's
Right.
not afraid to attack the second time because she's pushing even more damage with her overwhelm. So it just seems like they know that she's good already. She already has the spot. It's not like she's leveling up every game.
Right. Exactly.
So it's just like, oh, in the case that she does, we don't need to have it overkill because she's already. If she has leveled up, then she's already pushed 4 burn damage herself,
Right.
and then overwhelm just kind of push the cherry on the top.
Yeah, I mean,
So
just simmers her down a little bit, right? Finishes, slows her finishing power down a little bit. I mean, it's fine. I don't think anyone's going to complain. I don't think anyone was really expecting this, though.
yeah, it's kind of weird because I would really like to see like the numbers that made this happen. It's like, I guess maybe it's like the games that Misfortune levels up, they win like a crazy percentage or something like that.
Right.
I wonder how many games she actually does level up. I know it really depends on what deck you're going into. So maybe in the mirror, if there's no like single combats or they're able to get around the single combats and concerted strikes and stuff, maybe
Yeah.
she was leveling up a ton. I don't play scouts, so I don't know what the mirror is like, but
Right. Right.
maybe there was some underlying data that showed, oh, if they level up, then they win a crazy amount of time, so that needs to be simmered down.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, like I said, I mean, she's definitely a loved champion, but she's still 100% fine, and this won't even affect a lot of games anyway. So she's super solid. Victor's is a little bit more exciting.
Hmm.
The only other champion to get touched at all here in this patch, and I was kind of hoping that the level up condition would get down to 6 or 7. I just even said that in my last stream, so I was hoping that happened. We did get him down to 7, and I know a lot of people are like, does that even help him to a degree? And it really does depend on the deck, but when he does level up, it is significant. I mean, when his actual core is free to play, or when you have free ballistic bot shots, it is important. I mean, you just save mana every turn when he's leveled up, and you can do a
Hmm.
lot more. So I'm pretty excited about that portion. But the more exciting portion is now, I believe, when you play him, you create a hex core upgrade. So it's play or round start. So
Yeah,
now
that's
that's
pretty
huge.
awesome.
That's massive, right?
Hmm. Yeah, he gets a create a card right off the bat,
Right away.
and you could get a like turn 4 if you saved your mana, you could get a keyword right then and there.
Yep.
So like it just brings him up to speed turn quicker, and his lethal damage. Like he now comes out if you save mana, he comes out as basically a 3/4
Yep.
with a keyword,
With a keyword. Yep.
uh, which is super value for a 4 drop. So it's not just like, oh, he comes out there and then it's like, oh, he's still a 2/4, he can't block. It's like you don't want to attack because things don't trade well. Well, now, he has a chance to get really big, really like a turn quicker. Like it's just a turn, but it definitely matters a lot in his decks.
It helps. It helps a lot. I've been playing a lot of Victor dogs lately, and I was very excited when we got some dog cards coming out. But this really does help in like a Victor invoke deck. All those Celestials costing one less a turn earlier is important, and him just not only does he level up sooner because he only requires 7, but he also levels up sooner because he instantly creates a hex core upgrade. So
Oh yeah,
it's
it's
big.
like he's leveling up like right off the bat. It's basically like his level of condition. Like if you save mana, it's like, oh, playing 6 cards
Right.
levels him up basically. So
Yeah, so that this is actually even a better change than just reducing it down to 6 because you're actually giving him a keyword the turn he comes out too, which is huge. So
yeah.
yeah, this is massive. Victor is definitely slightly weak, so I really am happy to see a change here. I think this is a good one. It's all about just the speed at which he gets going. He was just a little too slow. On top of Hush just completely kind of shutting him down unless you got Spell Shield on him. He was a little too slow. And if you're looking here on the image, it does say Victor level 2 has a change. That change is just that he also, if you just play a leveled Victor, he also still has the play portion as well. So he'll still get a hex score upgrade, which is good. Uh, we haven't seen Riven yet, but Riven updates are coming, so stay tuned. We got the Grand Plaza change. This one is kind of one that people were talking about for a while. I mean, Grand Plaza stayed pretty prevalent right at the beginning, like not pretty prevalent, like overly prevalent at the beginning of the patch,
Yeah.
the release, and then it kind of simmered down as of late. It's not been too awful. It's just the buff of +1 attack and plus no health. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like people have been saying this, including myself, just take the health away so that the trades aren't like I understand putting out like weaker units to trade into higher health, but then when they have the health to survive that trade, like more times than not, it became a little ridiculous, especially when the Navigator came out and she's a 3/5 and she summoned some crazy high roll 3/5 uh Krusty Codger or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um it ended up being like crazy high rolls, which led to not interactive gameplay. So, Grand Plaza has made a staple. There's plenty of decks that are viable, and there's plenty of decks that are tier 1 or tier 2. Um, so I think I like Grand Plaza being in the game because of how many archetypes it opens, but it definitely needs to be tuned down just because of the high rolls and dying turn 3 or turn 4 to Lucian Hecarim too many
Absolutely. Right.
times.
Absolutely. It's just obnoxious. And we do want, Deech actually came into my stream when I was streaming yesterday, and he was just saying, like, we do, we were talking a little bit about will Grand Plaza see a nerf and stuff, and we do want to see good landmarks, right? Like, we didn't see good
Yeah.
landmarks for a while, so we want to see landmarks that are worth the mana investment. It's 3 unit mana, we want to see something that's worth that investment, and it sucks when some of the landmarks aren't worth anything, right? Like some of them are just pretty unplayable, to be harsh. But this one was one that hit. I mean, it was kind of questionable at the beginning. I was way wrong about it because I was just more on the, all right, landmarks have sucked. It's not worth the investment. But with
Yeah.
certain spells, it's definitely worth the investment. And it was slightly overtuned, and this is just a simple fix. I saw some people suggesting the make it only when a unit is played, not summoned, or vice versa, not when
Yeah, I
it's
don't.
played. But
I feel like that completely destroys Plaza.
yeah,
I
it's
feel like if you
harsh.
take half of it away, I think what Plaza has shown us is, what the landmark does needs to be game changing for it to actually affect the meta.
Yeah, agreed.
So like things like, the Harana or some of the other previous like a Howling Abyss. Howling Abyss can be crazy, but it's just inconsistent. But stuff like
Exactly.
that, stuff that's really like really impacts the game a ton, and it just fuels what Demacia does, which is like putting units on the board. But what I'm saying is, I like that Grand Plaza was overtuned in the start because it showed what they need to do to have a landmark actually be successful.
Yeah.
So hopefully, they either get changed to be more successful, or like the more that are released, they are able to at least be in viable decks and not just be meme decks.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Totally agree. We do have one more Demacia change here. We got War Chef. So War Chef was a 2-3, then it was a 1-3, now it's a 2-2. So it's moving around. It's trying to find a home. I mean, the 1-3 change really hurt it pretty bad. Kind of became this unit that couldn't block anything with 2 health, so it was like you were really far behind. That on top of like the support archetype already seeing almost no play, kind of left it in a bad spot. They're putting it back to a 2-2, which it is more susceptible to removal, which does hurt. I mean, like that does
Yeah.
really hurt the support archetype. Getting Mystic Shot or anything like that on your units is bad. It's really bad. But I don't know. Do you think this is supposed to be a buff? I think. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, War Chefs always took like the cake for being the top support early in seasons because it was the only support that could actually stay on the board.
Yep.
And it just fueled what Demacia did. But now, like, what I'm thinking is with the 2-2 stat line, do you don't you if you're playing Grand Plaza, or if you have the option of Grand Plaza or War Chefs, like what are you choosing? I don't think you're choosing War Chefs.
That's a good point.
Um, I think Grand Plaza kind of has put War Chefs in a spot where um, the Grand Plaza just does what War Chefs does, but better.
Yeah.
Uh, so even though they changed the stat line, I feel like this one might be a little too late to actually see any results for. So
Yeah, that's a good point. It does seem late is probably the best thing to say about this. I mean, nothing's too like there's always options. Like you can always bring back cards, but yeah, it's not really substantial enough. It's not returning it to the 2-3 glory days because Demacia, is already kind of doing pretty well with Grand Plaza and all. But this they even say right here, it's all about the tradability of this unit. So now that you can trade into another 2-drop easier on
Mhm.
defense, it helps, but like it goes against the whole point of support anyway. So it's like, how often is that going to happen? The 2-3, I get why it was oppressive because it could take out some 2-2s and then also attack, not die, and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a weird change. This is like one of the more shocking ones because it's kind of random.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's a little random. Homecoming,
Mikey,
Josh.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say Mikey would have predicted it.
yeah. Mikey would have just been like, "Oh yeah, the Chevalier nailed it." We got Homecoming here. So I roasted this card pretty hard before. I think a lot of people have. It was 5 cost. You had to recall your own thing to be able to recall an enemy's thing for 5 mana. Yes, it has some nice like counterspell action to it because you get targeted with something, you get challenged out, you bounce your own unit back, you save its life while recalling something else that's powerful. Doesn't happen that often. They're bringing it back down to 4, or no, I'm sorry, just back all the way back to 4 cost from 5. I mean, this card saw no play whatsoever, so it's a great buff.
Yeah, I mean, so like it being the same, so like, I guess they valued being able to recall a landmark pretty high, so that's why they gave it the 5 cost.
Yeah.
But it being worse than Will of Ionia and
Yes.
having to do more, like recall an ally, it just it felt really bad. It's like, why wouldn't you just play Will of Ionia then? Um,
Yeah. Great point.
I'm hoping, I really am looking forward. So like I think this card could get more support as they develop the recall archetype, just because it's non-existent. So I'm sure they're going to be putting more support into it, just like like Timo got more support with the Hex Core and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think, you know, as soon as they get like a unit that when you recall it summons something, or when you recall it draws, or um every time like something along those lines, I think this card could see play eventually, but you know, you're not getting much value off of recalling an ally and not being able to put it back on the board for free, or if that recalled ally doesn't do anything when it's recalled, then why are you recalling it kind of thing. So
That's
um
yeah, exactly the point. That's you nailed it.
it's like, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just I mean, they want recalling an ally to be a benefit, right? And the game is in a state where it's a little too fast for that to be a benefit, right? You
Yeah.
can't lose that much board value for that much of a mana investment for that to be a bonus, right? And at that point, like you said, just play Will of Ionia if you just want to recall something, right? And even
Yeah.
then, it's like, why would you play Will of Ionia right now? So,
Yeah. Once it hit 5, there's no reason. It just eats up half your turn, and it's
yeah,
not able to be used early. So it's like there needs to be more support for the recall archetype for either a Homecoming or Ionia to see play. So
I totally agree. I do like the card. Like, it is very neat. What it
hmm
does is cool. I mean, like I said, playing it in counter to a spell is a really cool idea. Um, the problem is, yeah, it's just too much, and that they've overvalued the landmark portion of this card for sure, right? Recalling a landmark hasn't been, the most amazing benefit that maybe
oh,
they
not
thought
at
it was
all.
going to be. So, yeah, I mean, well, speaking of the, recalling shenanigans, they randomly buffed the Green Glade Elder. Sorry, I mean that's kind of
Yeah.
cool. He was a 3-drop 1/1 when summoned. Grant all allies in hand +1/+1. He's now a 3/1 instead of a 1/1. I believe he got nerfed back to a 3 a long time ago. I feel like he was a 2 cost at one point, or he had some other stat change.
Mm.
Because he was in patch notes
He's definitely
previously
on
as
here.
well. What's up?
Yeah, definitely. I don't remember what it was that got changed,
Yeah,
but
yeah. If we were on Janky's quiz, we would have got this question wrong
we,
as well.
yes, just like all the other questions. Yeah, I, s- I see what they're trying to do with bringing the recall back in, but I don't think stat changes is the way to go. I think it's like adding value to being recalled. Something.
You might not be wrong there, Josh. It does seem like at least this thing can block now, and it can block fearsome units, so that is good. It's not just a throwaway blocker, but like, yeah, that is not going to push that archetype to a extremely playable spot. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I don't even know if it could be a fit in anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, this was an archetype and it is hard to think outside of Hush right now because
Yeah,
anytime I think about a buff, you're just like, oh, 2 mana Hush, and now it's 3 mana, which we'll get to, but. Yeah, it is hard to think about the recall archetype as of old, where you just hand buff things. Right, use that the jeweled protector, the 5-drop 4/4 lion thing, who's like
yeah,
the dopest looking art ever. Use that. Use this guy. Use for all your word cards, you just buff your units, and you recall it and do that. It's just so mana intensive, and any deck that's just running like a Grand Plaza deck, scouts, anything like that, is just going to run you over before you get anything going like that.
yeah. It's just it. Yeah, it's just not possible. Just in the state, it's just like the buffing is just way too slow, and for it to actually work, they need more value coming from recalling from. Hand buffing could be strong. It just needs to be done quicker, and you need to get more value while you are trying to hand buff, I guess. Which I
Yeah,
guess maybe they thought that the 3 stat line was value because it's like, oh, we got a really good blocker in this. Um,
it's definitely better. It's definitely better. Don't get us wrong, but it's definitely not like the resurgence that this archetype needed. It's not. That's not what we're getting
no,
at here. But these are two Ionia cards that definitely needed buffs and got buffs. So that's good at least. Two relatively completely unplayable cards that now are I might stop and look at for 1 second before moving on instead of just forgetting they exist. Captain
makes
Farron,
sense.
I think you were happy about this one.
Yeah, the 3. It's like a misfortune case where like,
Yeah,
why does he need 3 decimates? He's pushing like 8 himself and giving you 12 damage in hand.
great points.
Um, And also, the decks that are running him, like the discard aggro, and stuff like that, as their back end, or like the Draven Ezreal deck that was going around, they often used his decimate as like discard fodder. So like it
Wasn't
gave
that
them
so
even more
funny,
value.
right? They're just like, oh, I'll just rummage my 8 Nexus damage away because I can do it quicker than Decimate can. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
crazy.
at least if they rummage now, they get rid of both decimates. Um,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not that big of a change, but it's just like on the back end of things, it's not overkill now.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, it's super solid change. Farron, I think, was like the top peak of what an 8 drop should be. I mean, like devastating power. And it's funny because the change they made was like discard your whole hand to get decimates. That was never really played that much at all. I mean, maybe a little bit, but then create 3 decimates is like, oh yeah, we'll put that in every Noxus deck that needs a finisher. So
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
it's just like, super frustrating where even if you can handle him, right? Even if you have like an obliterate in hand, you got, removal for him, or even just an 8/8 blocker that can handle him. You don't have healing, you can't find healing, you can't do anything. You are on a 12 health clock because he created 3 decimates. And if you can't heal or counterspell those decimates before that does it, you're dead. And 12 health is, you can do that, 2 turns, you're going to take that. But now at least, and that's just from this one card, now at least it's an 8 health clock that you can kind of manage slightly better. It's not like a huge change. Farron's still going to see a ton of play.
Oh,
He,
definitely.
he doesn't get taken out of any deck at all. And that's the kind of the changes that are good, right? To
Hmm.
popular cards, if they're not mega oppressive, you don't want them to be like, okay, now they're just not going to see play. You just want them to be like, they do what they do, but in certain situations, they're going to do it slightly worse, and that's just a more healthy game state to be. So,
Oh, definitely. I like, on the back end, it now gives the discard aggro or, the Ezreal Draven decks that are using them, it gives them at least like at first they didn't have to think. They'll just like, oh, I'll just rummage 2 decimates because I have 4 damage.
exactly, yeah.
Or they'll just be like, oh, I can literally just play 2 decimates this turn and play a decimate next turn and then win the game. Now at least they have to think about, I can't discard this decimate because I need to get lethal. Gives them
Exactly.
a little bit. So I think it is a healthy nerf. It was a really good buff to see because he was useless beforehand. Um, and now it's good to see, we saw what he does, and now it's like simmer him down a little bit. So hopefully he still does what he does, but maybe open up another finisher.
Right, right. So, next patch notes, he'll be making only 1 decimate, and then they'll eventually revert him back to the. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my goodness.
This is a great change. Blade of the Exile now costs 1 mana from 3 mana. So the Riven Archetype 100% did need some help. We knew that. That was a thing. I was in love with Riven. I think I put an article of like 5 Riven decks, some nonsense. She's super fun to play, very combo-y. You feel like you're in a fighting game. You're like crafting all this crap and you're just smacking face. It feels epic. It feels like you're playing Riven in League. I think that's the whole point.
Yep.
But you work kind of hard to get Blade, and then it still costs 3 mana and is slow. Does feel bad. This doesn't like change anything as far as like this could have been notified before and it can still be notified now, right? Like it didn't do anything like any negative effect on it that was kind of hidden. Nothing
Yeah.
really is wrong with this effect. This is just a super solid straight up buff. It's great.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I think it goes more in line with all of her other Reforged cards. All of them cost 1. And then all of a sudden Blade of Exile was just like, oh, cost 3.
Yes,
Um, So,
exactly.
you can have those like nutso hands or turns now, which Riven really needs, which is like, she just uses a ton of buffs and then,
Yeah.
just goes for lethal because she acts like Lee Sin in a lot of ways, but she doesn't have any good ways or quick ways to do that. But now, if you could get 1 turn, a bunch of buffs, get the Blade of Exile, still have mana for it because it only costs 1 now, and that's like turn 5 or 6. It's like you could either be close to lethal or OTKing right there. So
Right.
I think it's pretty good for the health of Riven's decks.
It was super
Hopefully,
frustrating to like have to play like 3 fragments and then have 3 mana left to play this as well.
yeah,
It was very mana intensive for sure. Like, and you could normally afford it, say like turn 4 or 5 or something like that. But one of the problems was like you had to kind of wear out all of your mana, so you didn't have anything left for a combat trick, right? You couldn't even save 2 mana for a troll chant or anything else. Typically,
yeah,
now that 2 mana difference is big, where you might have a combat trick now when you're going into combat, which she still needs, because they're gonna have
oh,
a combat
definitely,
trick. So yeah,
yeah, definitely. There's the game as of right now pretty much kind of there's a ton of decks that revolve around 2 cost spells.
hmm
So if that 2 mana is saving you for like a Notify to deny whatever they're doing, or Pale Cascade or anything like that, just to counter what they're doing,
absolutely.
um, it definitely can be worth it. I'm not saying Riven is going to see a ton of play now, but it definitely is a step in the right direction to making Riven viable.
Yes. Totally agree. One more Riven update here. We got the Blade Squire, which when he came out, I was a little frustrated because they made him a 1/2 with a Death Rattle, or God, Hearthstone days came back, with a Last Breath. And it was frustrating, right? Like, you needed him to die. Like, you want him to die. And they gave him an extra health instead of just giving him, 2 attack and 1 health. It was just super annoying.
He was definitely a counterproductive card because who's blocking the 1/2? No one.
Right.
It's like
Right.
it's like I'll just eat the 1 damage so that they can't get the reforged, and it completely slowed Riven down to the point where she's not even playing one of her cards that she needs.
Exactly.
Which made her worse than what she needed.
Which
So now being
you just cut this guy, right? Exactly.
Yeah, now being a 2/1, he can trade up.
Yeah.
You can get the reforge pretty easily turn 1 if that's really, even if you just trade into any little unit. It's definitely the stats make more sense now.
Yeah, it makes more sense and is way more valuable. I mean, like you said, if they just continuously eat 2 damage so you don't get reforged, that's fine. Like, that's a great trade for you. If they eat 4 damage from your 1-drop, but you didn't get reforged, you're doing good. If they eat 2 damage from it, you're probably not doing as good. Like, and yes, it can die to a spider, but like, you want it to die.
Yeah, you
want to play your 1-cost
reforge.
Blade of Exile. Like, it costs 1. Let him die. Before we move on from this, I was kind of expecting Riven to get the treatment they gave Viktor, which was she creates a reforge when she's played as well, not only when she gets the attack token. I just wonder if they even messed with that. What are your thoughts on that?
I wonder if she would come out swinging a little too quick.
Yeah.
So like Hush being big right now, Riven's not that big of a threat. But if you're not running Hush and she comes out, being buffed with like Overwhelm or Quick Attack, or the 2 attack, and like you have no way to deal with her, I can imagine it being pretty frustrating, just like right off the bat.
Yeah.
So that might be why they didn't do that, and it might be why they looked to Blaze the Exile instead, to help her back end,
Right.
so that she can finish easier. Because she can come out swinging like pretty quickly if you get your reforge curve and you do get the right, just like attack sequence. She can just come and just do like what she does in League and just smash you to death right away.
And smash you to death, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the Blade of Exile change, so no complaints. I think it's solid. We got some nerfs for Targon, so all of the community celebrates. Targon's definitely been oppressive lately. No doubt they've been a really strong region. I think Targon's days have been funny. Like, I feel like some people thought they were underpowered at first, and then now very much overpowered. And all
it's so funny how it's like people will complain about like we need more power creep, and then it's like these cards are ridiculously strong.
It happened, yeah. We got
and it took a while, but now after the last set came out, it's just like Targon's full force, and everyone's like, oh, now they're too strong. It's like, what do you want? Do you want power creep or not power creep? I don't know.
Yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You got to pick one. So yeah, we got Hush going to 3 mana. Hush was 3 mana originally with the recastability effect. Now it's just 3 mana, cast it once. I think it's a really healthy spot for it to land in. I think you could just run 2 of these now, and it's a fair card.
Yeah, it has been a roller coaster with Hush.
It has.
I don't know how its first copy made it into the game. Actually, like its first form.
Dude, that was so fun with Lux though. Just Hush, 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 Hush. You just cannon everywhere. Oh my gosh.
Dude. Yeah, that was, and then the Infinite Ezreal cast. That was insane.
And it became the repeatable one after it became the repeatable, but it got +1 mana. I forgot it did that.
Yeah.
Too, right. Yeah, and then it became the 2 cost, just 1-time effect, and now we ended on 3. So this has definitely been one of their harder cards to balance.
It makes sense. You're silencing a unit as like literally when the game has a lot of stuff that goes around buffing or like using buffs to get win trades or OTK or something like that. It's going to be big because it counters all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think 3 is a good spot. It makes it so you can't just save 2 mana. If you want to use Hush, it's like, oh, okay, I have to actually save my 3 spell mana from last turn if I still want to be able to do something this turn, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good spot. I think it will be dropped to 2 ofs because Targon does have a ton of good spells already. So I'm glad that it'll open up a spot for some other stuff that is in there.
It's super solid. Like if we drop this to a 2 of, it still has that power. It still has that moment where, okay, I need it. I'm going to save my 3 mana. I'm going to make sure I have Hush. And I'm going to blast something with it. But it becomes a lot less seen all the time because not everyone, not everyone ran it as a 3x, but some people did. I mean, it fit plenty of decks as a 3x for sure, even or 2x minimally. But, it's going to drop back, and I can't see anyone really running this as a 3 of all that often. It's kind of rough to run a 3 of a 3 cost like combat trick like this. There's a big difference between 2 and 3 for combat tricks, but the amount of that you actually want to run. So it's a big deal, and I'm happy with it. On top of Hush, we also see Pale Cascade get a nerf too. So this is Pale Cascade's first nerf. It probably was hands down one of the best combat tricks. In the game. I mean, yes, Hush is a combat trick, but this is more directly a stat buff because you're generating a card off of it too, as long as you Nightfall. It's not giving you +1/+1 instead of +2/+1. You still get to draw a card with Nightfall. Thoughts on that, Josh?
I'm pretty sad because I love this card.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I guess it was way too good. It's a top 3, if not top 1 combat trick in the game. Draws a card, gives you +2, gives you +1. You can survive spells. You can survive trades. You can trade up with everything. Pretty much. So it pretty much did way more than it needed to. But I will say, I would much rather have this nerf than them pushing it to a 3 cost.
Mm-hmm.
So I am sad, but also happy that they took this approach instead.
That's a great point. Yeah, I think this is a better approach. It is super frustrating with, you can still use this to get the +1 health if you really need to save your unit, which happens every once in a while. They need to save a Zoe from a Vile Feast, anything like that. So that's super nice. I'm glad it's not just the +2/+0. I know people kind of were pulling for that. I didn't love that idea as much. But yeah, the +2, man, it did feel like, wow, all of a sudden my 2/1 Blade Squire is blocking my 4-drop who has 4 health and just
kills your Victor.
Right, yeah, kills my Victor and draws a card. It's like, man, the +2 gave it a lot of reach for trades, and it became just a little bit ridiculous. So it's a good change. It's a good change. So I think something that's omitted here that's pretty obvious is definitely Lee Sin. Lee Sin's nowhere on these patch notes, guys. These 2 cards are... Hush and Pale Cascade are, and they were definitely really big components of his deck. But Lee Sin's not on these patch notes. That's the only big letdown for me. I do think he needs another visit to the patch to the lab or whatever they want to call it. Is there any other card that was omitted that you're really were wishing to see on this, Josh?
I was looking through the cards, and I knew people would be talking about Lee Sin.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's nothing that really came to mind. Like, I know people were going crazy, like, oh, will they rework Zoe? Will they rework like the whole invoke process? Will they make the star chart 3 costs instead of 2 costs?
Yeah.
I think Zoe is fantastic. So I really don't want her to be touched at all. Like, if they put the star chart to 3, that kind of defeats Zoe's play. It's like you play her turn 1, you attack to get the star chart turn 2
to play it.
And then so like it doesn't really make sense, and I don't think like people were asking for Zoe to be nerfed, and I could see why, because she does so much.
Yeah.
But it's like, don't touch Zoe. So so I'm glad. Yeah. But yeah, so I was glad that I did. I know your question was, is there any that I was sad to see like omitted from here? But I guess I turned that to like, I'm happy that I didn't see any of the invoke stuff or any of the any Zoe that's on there.
Totally fair. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think she's okay right now. I do think I've seen some potential changes to her that could make sense. I think they're a little too early right now. I don't think she's oppressive. Really,
she's just good.
She's just good. She's really good.
There's plenty of counters to her. Like, she dies to any other elusive. She dies to any spell. Yep. It's not like she's coming out with like spell shield already. It's like you have to play a card and you have to get a Nexus Strike.
Yep.
And then you also have to play another card to play another card. It's not like it's not like she's doing a lot for free, and it's not like it's, it might seem easy because like, oh, turn 1 I play her, she doesn't die, so I get a Nexus Strike. But like later in the game, it's not easy to do that just because of how many counters there are. Grand Plaza's there, so she dies pretty much the next turn after she's played.
Exactly.
Any PZ deck can just ping her off the board with whatever spell they choose.
Exactly.
So there are a ton of counters for how much value she has. And it's not, I know Zoe can end the game, but it's not like someone builds a deck to end the game with Zoe. It just kind of happens. So
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, the Zoe protection decks haven't like taken off. She's just kind of found a good spot everywhere. Yeah, I do think, like I said, Lee Sin will probably see a change at some point again. But for now, this is what we're stuck with. This is what we're getting. But we are getting a lot of new cards. I'm gonna blow through the rest of these patch notes real quick. Here we have a new single player lab, which is always fun. But you know we don't have a whole lot to go off right now. But a new single player lab is great. Lab of Legends. So we'll see that tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited about that. I loved the Duo Lab. Josh and I put out a couple YouTube videos
amazing.
about that. If you guys want to check it out, I'll throw it in the chat, and it's obviously in the link as well. But we put out a few different videos on that, and that lab was amazing. On top of that, this whole lunar event thing is popping. We have a new board, a new Guardian that we're giving away. I'll throw that in as well in the chat. That's on our Twitter. We're giving away a Guardian. So the new Guardian's hilarious, dude. I don't even, he's
awesome.
Nuts looking. We're giving him away as well on Twitter, so we're just giving $6 through PayPal. Tomorrow we'll pull that, so if you're interested to get into that, you can just do what the tweet says. On top of that, we got card backs, 3 card backs, but this is really the only one that matters. Look at this freaking gorgeous beast, dude.
Oh yeah, the colors on this are incredible.
They are.
I like the whole set. I mean, the card backs look great just because the color scheme.
Yes.
But also, I just love the whole color scheme of the board, the beast, or the guardian, I should say. The color scheme, it calls to me.
Hey, I love it. It's fantastic. I love the teal and red. It's obnoxiously sweet. We got 3 emotes, pretty cool, all based around the lunar skins from League of Legends, so they're pretty sweet looking. And there's a bundle, and in the bundle, there's a new variant of the T-Hex. So it's the first variant of the T-Hex I've seen, right? He's pretty crazy looking.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. The lunar color scheme is.
Yeah.
He actually is a little bit different than all of the rest, but
he is. Yeah.
Still looks awesome. I also want to comment on this. This Darius emote looks like pretty hysterical.
It does.
He's like very angry, putting steam out your nose.
Quality stuff here. New deck bundle as well, which is pretty sweet. Always helps new players get involved. We got a bunch of updates to Expedition. We haven't covered Expedition a ton, so we're not going to go deep into that. There is one thing we need to highlight here. Fix an issue when sometimes a unit would increase. Oh, no, that is not the right one. I highlighted the wrong one. The middle one here. Fix the bug that sometimes prevent a unit from being silenced a second time in the same round. So there is a bug going on where you hush something, they buff it, you try to hush it again, and it doesn't go through. That bug was super annoying and cost me a game on stream when I was like 2 away from Masters. I was pissed.
So sad.
So that is going to be fixed now, which is great. And it was literally a Zoe who lived because of it. She pale cascaded, and I was like, oh, I'll just hush her again. He has no mana left. And no, that didn't happen. So yeah, that's an annoying thing. So that's fixed. So ideally now that won't happen anymore, and we can enjoy hushing things. But now, wait for it, for 3 mana instead of 2 mana. So you can enjoy hushing things for 3 mana. Josh, we got to dive right into the cards. There's too many new cards coming out, so we got to talk about them.
We have to talk about them.
Here, I got the image on the stream, or on the video if you guys are watching. If you're listening, read through them at home. This image is from Cosmic Plays, super good guy on Twitter. Always on top of these. I mean, like, as soon as the Play Runeterra account comes out and they say, hey, here are new cards, he's like, here's an all-in-one image, like, instantaneously. So he's right on top of it. Let's just read through these and talk about them. So we already went through Aphelios on an older episode, and I broke him down, I think, in an article as well as a video. But we didn't know he was getting support cards, so that's outdated, and now we need to talk about his support cards. So I'm going to go through the Targon cards first, and then we'll go back through the other ones.
Sounds good.
So we got the Flight. This thing is sweet looking, dude. It looks like Skarmory, kind of, from Pokemon a little bit.
Yeah, a shiny Skarmory.
Yeah, shiny Skarmory. The Flight, 1-drop, 2/1 with Elusive. Nexus Strike, you draw a card, and then you shuffle this thing into the top 3 cards of your deck.
Yeah. That seems like it could be pretty scary.
That's wild, right? I mean, it gets the bird like swooping in action, like it fits that theme, right?
Yeah, and you could just fill your board with, like you could just drop like 6 damage. You just like pull one, it shuffles the top 3. So no, you draw one and then shuffle. Okay, so you couldn't like draw the one that you just shuffled. Makes sense. Okay, that makes more sense. But yeah, I still think it's super awesome the cycling. This is how the recall archetype should work.
Dude, this is a super interesting mechanic. I mean, it's just like a, kind of one-off little one-drop, but like it's a super interesting mechanic of like this thing that hits, lets you draw a card, gets off the board, goes back in your deck. Like you do lose the value to trade up now with that one-drop, but is that worth like 2 Nexus damage and drawing a card to get closer to your 2-drop or something?
It's an elusive, so like you're
Yeah.
probably not trading if this is in your deck anyway. So
Yeah, right. You're not going to move. You're not going to want to sacrifice it. And 2-1 with elusive is crazy good stats, right? We have the other thing that gets it when played for Ionia.
yeah.
But this thing's good, dude.
Yeah, I really like this card all around. Like the art as a one drop is really interesting. You're just pinging 2 damage right in the beginning, and
Yeah.
then getting the cycle of you draw this so you can cycle through your deck and to ping 2 damage again. It's like a ton of value for a one drop.
Yeah, it's sweet. I mean, it does kind of help the Nightfall aspect too, right? I mean,
Hmm.
because it's another cheap card in Targon, obviously, but it also is drawing more cards. You kind of can run into problems with Nightfall where you're kind of gassed out. So this can set up a nice Nightfall and then refresh your hand for next turn. So he's really good.
Yeah,
Really good.
I think he's really solid one drop.
Shiny Skarmory. I'm going to skip over and go through all the Targon cards if you guys are following along. The second Targon card here is a 2-drop. This one's super spicy. The Sky Shadows, 3/1, so okay stats. But when summoned, refill 2 spell mana if you behold a Nightfall card. Really good. So if you're
Yeah.
keeping track at home for what Aphelios does is when he Nightfalls, he essentially gets to pick a weapon that just so happens to cost 2 mana. Aphelios is a Nightfall card. So if you play this on turn 2 and you have Aphelios in hand, you get 2 spell mana. So then if you can manage to actually play something before Aphelios to Nightfall Aphelios, you can cast a weapon in the same turn as well on turn 3 when he comes out. And you have 5 weapons to choose from. You get to pick whatever one when you play it. So this is a direct support card for him, but also just
Yep.
is a great card for all Nightfall decks, right?
I think so. It does a lot. Refilling 2 mana on turn 2 is kind of huge, especially like we were just talking about. A lot of decks revolve around 2 cost spells, and this one gives you 2 cost, like 2 spell mana. So
It does.
um, I really like this card. They really like the 3/1 stat line today. So
Yeah, they're going off with these 3/1 stat lines. Do you think this should have double attune, or are you okay with refill 2 spell mana? I've seen images on Reddit with 2 attune icons, just like the Young Apprentice should have in
you
Piltover.
know,
But
I guess for consistency, that would make more sense.
it'd be
But
funny.
does the Eager Apprentice still say refill 2 mana, or does it say attune?
I
I
think
assume it's
it's refill 2 mana still. Yeah.
yeah.
So people want double attune now.
Double attune would be great.
Double attune.
Definitely need a new keyword.
Yes.
Double attune.
The double attune. Yeah, this card's fantastic. And the art's insane. I love all this this stuff is so sweet looking. All these like voidling, like Targon beast looking things of the moon. It's
Yeah.
insanity. Love this card. I think it's super super legit if you're playing Nightfall. We got Starbone, Josh.
Starbone. This is the card you've been
Oh
waiting
my
for.
gosh, boys. So I have lately, if you've been catching any of my content, videos, streams, whatever, I've been playing this Viktor Dogs deck. So it's an Invoke deck, Zoe Victor, with 3 Messenger Sigil, just so I can shuffle dogs in my deck. Level up Victor. Victor then makes the dogs cheaper, as well as the Allegiance unit, the Mountain Scryer, from Targon. So you can just vomit dogs out for like free. And the best thing to do is when you play the 7-cost Celestial spell that gives all your units everywhere +2/+2, Cosmic Inspirations, that card. Super crazy, because then you're just playing free dogs, drawing cards, and then your dogs also make your what is it, the Skies card, Death from the Skies or whatever. I can't think of the
Yeah.
name right now.
Sky's Descent.
Sky's Descent.
Sky's
Yeah.
Descent.
When you play that, it's super cheap because you just filled your board with dogs. But this card, and Ruben's even put out a story about how one of the members of the team's dogs passed away, so they fit this card
Oh.
in, which is super sweet. But it's if you behold the dog, the Doge, the messenger, you grant all Celestials everywhere +1/+1. So it costs 2 mana for burst, and you will give all of your other Celestials that you play that game +1/+1. It's not all units, so it's not like Cosmic Inspiration where that just kind of helps everything, but it still gives every other Celestial you've played +1/+1. It's pretty good.
Yeah. If you play if you're in your dog's deck, you hope that you have a dog in your hand or on
Yes.
the board. So I can't see this being a 3 of in your deck, but
Oh,
I can see it
absolutely,
being
it's a 3.
absolutely. I mean, it's pretty. If you have the dogs, you could get some sneaky trades in. Just like
Yep.
throw them out there. They can put like a 3 health unit out there, and you're like, oh, I got some bones for this dog.
It's
Or it
interesting. God.
it could even help with any other Celestials getting like sneaky trades in also.
Hey, the Serpent's a 3 too. Sure. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty. Yeah, when I use iterative improvement on
Oh yeah, the
the
Serpent.
serpent
Jeez.
and it becomes a 3/2 for 0, that thing is just crazy value.
Yeah.
So yeah, a 3/2 serpent, it can trade into a ton more. I mean, now it's going to technically a 2 cost unit. So
Yeah.
um but it's still crazy value.
So realistically, like, we have the Messenger Sigil, and I'm gonna spend way too much time on this card. Sorry, but we have the Messenger Sigil, which is the 1 cost shuffle 5 dogs in your deck. That does thin your deck out, so you're less likely to see Starbone if you have it. But more interestingly enough is the fact that if you do use Invoke with the Sketcher, the Spacey Sketcher, you have a 1 in 8, or you have it's 1 of 8 cards. The dog is, so you have 3 chances at getting that. Same with super cool star chart with Zoe, and now same with the next card here, the Fangs, which we'll get to in a second. So I think that's more the realistic way. Find the dog, pick the dog, use Starbone, give everything +1/+1.
Makes sense.
I don't know if I even want to put this in my dog's deck, but you're damn sure I'm putting 3 of them in my dog's deck, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
sisters with that buff is they're pretty
Right,
intense.
right, exactly. Like the Cosmic Inspiration buff is what's winning me most of the games with my deck. To be honest, it's crazy getting everything +2/+2. It's just
Yeah.
massive. But +1/+1's pretty good too. It's just limited to your Celestials, but there's some good ones. So
Yeah, the challenger being a 5 cost 6/6, he's pretty terrifying.
not bad, right? Yeah. And if you
Yeah,
have the Scryers, you're playing them early. You have Victor now who got buffed. You're playing those cards even
the
earlier.
tra the traveler's now a 4/5. He
Mm-hmm.
can trade into a ton of stuff. Yeah, it's crazy value. Obviously, as much as you're doing well with your deck, it's still pretty much a meme deck, I'd have to say.
Oh yes,
So,
yeah. The fact that
so
I
this
was 1 win away from Masters this week with it, I was shocked.
so this just fuels the meme. I kind of think it makes it even memeier, which is pretty
It
hysterical.
does. It
Um,
really does. The Victor buff makes it toward more legit. Like Victor
yeah.
Invoke is more interesting now. But yeah, the adage of this, the addition of this card, is like so tempting for me to just be like, I gotta throw 3 counterfeit copies in to make 1,000 dogs, but I can't.
Oh my goodness.
But I can't, Josh. Uh,
But can you?
all right, can we get to the fangs here? This thing is ridiculously cool looking.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I was looking at it and
it's
I kind of
nuts.
didn't know what was going on, but I was like, this is really cool.
It's so sick looking. Yeah, the Fangs 4-drop 3/2. This card's super interesting. I mean, the 4-drops in Targon are pretty crazy, pretty spicy 4-drops.
Mhm.
I mean, really, the Sun Forger is massive, and the Mountain Scryer is really popular for when you're using Invoke decks. This thing's interesting. So now, like I just said, this is another shot. A Celestial card that costs 3 or less. You have a 1 in 8, or you have a out of 8 chances. The dog is one of those cards. You get 3 of those cards. You have shots at getting the dog for that style. But like we've seen, that under 8 or under 3 cost 8 cards from Invoke are super strong.
Yeah.
Like the Serpent's
Wait,
amazing and all that.
real quick, would you put this in instead of your Sun Forger in your
Right.
Victor dog deck?
That's what I think 100% I do.
It
I
makes sense. I mean, the 3 or less like Celestial cards, they're all just fantastic. Like
so good.
you pretty much, I mean, there's for certain matchups you have to draw like correct ones, but
Yes.
like pretty much you're getting value out of all of them regardless of what you do. So,
Right.
um, you know, you still have your life steal. It's like 2 less health, but
Yeah.
does that really matter? If you're getting another Celestial card, I don't know.
Right. You're getting hand value. You're feeding the level up condition for Zoe if you're playing a Zoe deck. And it's just, yeah, you're losing 2 health, but the addition of not having to daybreak the card is actually important.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that's true. And he keeps life steal throughout like multiple rounds. So,
That's a really so. There's a lot of situations where you play your lifesteal unit on turn 4, you attack with it, and they just glimpse beyond, and then you don't have your lifesteal anymore. This guy has
mhm.
to get removed for that condition to get met, for you to get no lifesteal. So if he strikes, even on offense, defense, whatever, like you just said, it's really important, really, really big thing. So for me, yeah, I just slot this straight in over Sunforger, like
Yeah,
day one.
he's a ton of value. For some reason, when I first looked at this, I looked at his cost, I looked at lifesteal, and I looked at his stats, and I'm like, that's whatever. And then now that we're here, I see like invoke a celestial card that's cost 3 or less, and I'm
Right.
like, how did I miss that? I was like, the card becomes incredible with
Yeah, he
that
might just come
with
with
that
a
text.
2/1 challenger for free for 4 mana still, right? Like,
Yeah, that's a great turn 4. Like
yeah.
that's amazing.
Crazy stuff. Speaking of turn 4s, we got the Veiled Temple. We have a This is now our third Targon landmark, Josh. The
Yeah, this
third Targon
one
landmark.
really intrigues me.
Yeah,
Really.
this one screams you. So each round, the first time you play two other cards, refill 2 mana, not spell mana. So just refill 2 mana and
Hmm.
grant your strongest ally +1/+1. So obviously they have the thing with Nightfall. You're playing two cards. It is like the Moon Temple or whatever. So I guess it goes into that
Yeah.
category. What are you gonna do with it, Josh?
Yo, could you imagine like Burblefish on here?
Goes right to the Burblefish.
I like
You're
each
not
round. The
wrong.
first time you play two cards, refill 2 mana. The Burblefish are free. You're making it a maybe. You're making it a 4/2, and you could get like if you're using iterative. You can't do it that way. You can't do it that way.
Yeah,
But
too many regions, but still.
too many regions. But still, the singleton. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm just imagining, things that cost really low but have a ton of value, and it's just fueling your turn for like what you're able to do.
Absolutely.
Burblefish was the first thing that came to my head. I think Pesky Spectre is pretty funny, because you get the mana back.
Josh is just like, what memes can I pull out from everywhere right now? It's hilarious.
It's kind of hysterical.
It is hysterical.
And I can't wait to play with it. That might be like the first thing I craft just because it's so interesting to me. Getting 2 full mana back, like it seems like endless opportunities, especially if you're playing cards that are less than 2 mana.
I
So
like this one a lot because we talked about how landmarks are very mana intensive. They're a big, cost. You got to put in unit mana for this. You lose tempo. Targon's Peak essentially tries to give you that tempo back by making a random card in your hand free, but it has its own problems with RNG where it gives your opponent one of those as well. This is just a direct, like, you sink 4 mana in now, but if this triggers for 2 turns, you get all your mana back.
yeah,
Only has to happen twice.
yeah, you just get your value back pretty quickly. So
Yeah, you can
I'm
do it the
super
turn you
excited
play
for
it
it.
too, I think, right? I mean, as you play it, each round, the
Oh,
first time you play two other cards. So you play it, and
make
then if you play
yeah,
two more
since
cards
it's
after.
yeah, since it says the first time you play 2 other cards, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that you could do it that turn.
Yeah, I mean, you could even like play this, play two spells with spell mana, and then get 2 unit mana back.
Oh, does this? I guess this would like TF could benefit because you're able to play like another card, but that would only benefit his like leveled
Right.
his level state.
Right.
So that's probably not the way to go. But
It seems like it's
anything that
weird with like the Rush Nightfall deck to me. I feel like it's too slow for
yeah,
that.
yeah, it's probably too slow for a tempo deck, I'd assume. You're probably going to have to get like cheeky damage through with this
Yeah.
landmark to actually be successful. That's why I went right to Burblefish, just because
Yeah.
it's if you make your Burblefish a free 4/2, it's like pretty ridiculous. And then you're playing it for free, you get a spell, you can play the spell, all that nonsense.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, it's crazy. I really like the design of this card. I think it's going to introduce another like new Aphelios Nightfall deck that's not all about just like bum rushing, getting your OTK turn of all your little onlookers and doing that whole thing, but more of like this weird paced Nightfall deck where you're
yeah.
just kind of comboing out some stuff. Super cool
Could
card.
you imagine comboing this with a tune? You have the Sky Shadows that
Oh,
refill
jeez,
two
yeah.
spell mana. You play some tune nonsense. Like you could literally just like play out all like a ton of cards in one turn because you're just like refilling
Yeah,
your mana. You might burn out your hand, but it'll definitely be fun for that turn.
it will. I mean, it's super, super good too. Like you just look at the Invoke package, right? The cheap stuff. It works so well with that whole thing because there are just more cards that are cheap, right? Especially the
Yeah,
3 cost or less ones. Or Zoe is good. Zoe gets you 2 cards on strike, right? If she strikes, she gets you 2 cards because she
yeah, it makes sense.
star charts and then gets a card. So
It gives you a free star chart, like
yeah,
literally a free star chart.
yeah, crazy. Forgive us for not knowing the name of the weapon, but we do have another Targon unit, the last Targon unit that has the same effect as one of the weapons from Aphelios. So this thing's called the Cloven Way. So this thing is super crazy
Oh,
looking. It's like this ball of energy with horns. It has Nightfall, stun an enemy, and then if it's a follower, you stun it again at the start of the next round, which is pretty crazy because essentially you're going to get to stun lock a follower for 2 turns in a row.
I kind of wish that the Nightfall applied to the second, like the stun again. I kind of wish that it stunned regardless, and then if you got the Nightfall,
Uh,
it did the stun again.
that'd be nice, yeah.
Um, I think it would make the card more consistent, just because it's a 5-drop, and it being nightfall, it's like you probably can't play it till turn 6 consistently.
Yeah,
Um,
fair.
and then the stun package has never been big besides like concussive palm, I guess.
Yeah,
Um, and Yone and yeah, just Yone has seen his spot in the meta for like a tiny bit when there was like the Karma Ezreal. But other than
yeah,
that, besides concussive palm and like the arachnoid sentry, stun really hasn't been anywhere. Um, so as cool as it is, I don't know if we will see this 5-drop anywhere.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you on that. He's interesting. Let's go back through. Now we have some other cards that came out too. I wasn't expecting this many cards. I was expecting, I think I said 5 on stream, 4 or 5. So we got a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. We got one from Piltover and Zon, stress testing. One cost burst. Remove a fleeting card from. I'm sorry. Remove fleeting from all cards in hand. So essentially, if you have a ton of fleeting cards because you played pick a card before, all the
Mhm.
fleeting effect is gone, and then you essentially now get all your cards for forever now. And also, when it's discarded, you draw one fleeting. So pretty interesting effect there. Really helps when you do have Jinx out. If this is the last card that gets removed from your play, like if you get excited and discard this, your hand gets empty. Jinx levels, you draw a card from that. If you
And you
play
get a
that
rock.
card, you can rock it turn 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
This
screw
card.
discard aggro. Why this?
Yeah, it's super interesting because when you're playing the Urchin or the Sump Dredger or even the Rummage, it allows you to discard like without having to make a decision of what you're discarding.
Yeah.
Because it draws another card, like it's basically like so if you had this in your deck and you imagine drawing just say a Mystic Shot,
Yep.
but for some reason you don't want to discard that Mystic Shot. Well, now instead you drew this because this is now a thing. Stress testing is a thing. So you discard that and then get your Mystic Shot. So you didn't discard the Mystic Shot.
Yep.
Um, so it gives you like I assume I can't imagine it being a 3 of, but it does let you just have those free discards where it's like you don't have to think about it because you're not losing any value. You're actually gaining value because you don't have to discard a card that has value.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does, yeah. I mean, it might let some other cards see play as well. I mean, if there are moments where pick a play sees play, but there's other cards that draw fleeting cards as well, like Zevi the Mechanist or whatever, and the Patrol Warden guy, whoever his name is. So there's some other cool ones that are, it could bring back this weird archetype in Piltover. Realistically, it'll probably just get thrown in to discard aggro maybe as a 2 of, like you said, or something like that, and see some play.
Now, I'm not sure because they now have survival skills, so like the deck's pretty tight.
It is
So I don't
tight, yeah.
know. I don't know if this will have any play. They also have been doing fine with discarding just cards that they don't need.
Yeah.
So, adding the value of discarding this while like kind of thinning out your deck with value cards. I don't know if that makes sense for them at this point.
Yeah, maybe it
Just
finds
because,
its home in like a weird Jinx off deck, or even the Twisted Fate stuff more than discard aggro.
yeah, I can't see this getting a ton of play, but in that weird um, TF easy stuff. That's not the Burblefish deck. It might be there. Maybe comboing it with the Pool Shark or meme decks with Zevi could be in there.
I think you'll have fun with it.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely try it at one time.
We got Troll Gifts next. 2-cost burst spell. Grant an ally regeneration. So grant regeneration is pretty solid, but if they already have it, you grant them +2/+2 instead. I like this. The whole regeneration aspect of trolls hasn't really come to fruition a whole lot.
Yeah.
But granting something regeneration is great, and Huntsecker in chat even mentioned before on Twitter he's going to put regeneration on the monkey idol. Just endless monkeys, baby.
That's incredible.
It is incredible.
Regeneration on the monkey. That's pretty awesome that they find that card has come out that you can like add the regeneration. I'm sure there's going to be some really terrible combos made with
right.
this. There's a lot of units that if they have regeneration, it could kind of push them over the edge. And now we have it. So we'll see the combos that come after this. It's definitely a fun card to play with.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean,
Giving regeneration on anything.
Freljord's mid-range stuff kind of needs some help anyway. They really are just known for, they have some overwhelm stuff, but like there's this whole troll aspect that really never took off that well or anything. So, and
yeah,
regeneration's a keyword that hasn't seen a whole lot of play outside of like Garen. A lot. I mean, obviously Trundle sees a lot of it, but like That's really it,
Braum.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Braum. If you count Braum as seeing play, I guess, other than the bald eagle. But
He
yeah,
saw it for a month.
yeah, he had a month. It was a long month too. So, but yeah, it's a cool keyword that I think is definitely one of the lesser used keywords. So I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure.
We got Gluttony, which is super. Anytime there's a freaking Shadow Isles card that does stuff, I get hyped. So
I am terrified for the Anivia decks that are coming.
that
I am
yeah,
absolutely terrified.
that's actually a good point. Gluttony's 3 cost. Kill an ally with Last Breath to summon a follower from your deck that costs 1 more. So it is weird because you have to target a unit that has Last Breath. You can't target any old unit, but you target a unit with Last Breath to then summon a unit that costs 1 or more. So you kill Anivia. The Rekindler does cost 1 more, right?
Yeah, you summon the Rekindler and you get a second Anivia for
Yep.
3.
Yep. Seems good. I mean, it's fast speed. It's not burst speed, so you can at least counter and stuff, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, well, Anivia has 4 health. It's pretty hard to like interact.
Well, I mean, yeah, you
unless
can like deny it or notify it or whatever at least, but yeah.
That's true. Oh, that is true. I mean, people are trying to not run Notify now, but
Yes.
it is definitely scary because Anivia, like zombie Anivia, is such a strong control deck.
Yeah.
Like when it comes, it literally just like takes the meta by storm, literally.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So I am pretty scared. Other than that, like that was like the first combo that popped into my head, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it fits, right? You're right. I mean, 6 cost champion with less breath, 7 cost unit that resummons the champion you just killed. Seems good.
Yeah.
Seems good.
Yeah. Other than that, I was trying to think of other combos that it could like benefit like a ton. And I mean, I guess just to summon something, like you'd have to find a combo of like, like a 4-drop that could summon like a really good 5-drop or
Right.
something
4
like
drop
that.
with less breath. I mean, you got to kill Ladros to summon a 10 drop. A 10 drop.
Yeah. Which is there? There's only one 10-drop in the game, right?
Yeah,
The Plaza.
oh, there's that guy. The whatchamacallit. The giant freaking thing from Freljord. She Who Wanders.
Oh.
She Who Wanders.
Oh, but she's a play effect. So
Yeah,
why
it's
would
play
you
effect, so
want
you
to
don't get you just get a 10/10 with regeneration. Terrible. Interesting card. Could see some funny play. 3 seems like a high cost. Outside of the Anivia combo, 3 seems like a high cost. For other stuff that Josh and I are talking
Unless
about, it seems high.
Unless you can. Oh no, you can't even do Cytherea into Tiana, can you? Is she a 7 or 8-drop? I can't remember.
Well, it has that the unit you kill has to have less breath.
That's true. You can't
Yeah.
even do that. So outside of Anivia, I don't know what's good with it.
Yeah, it's
or what
weird.
it's good for.
It's weird, and it only summons a follower, so it won't summon a champion. So you do have to plan out. I mean, you can definitely plan things out that are cool. Skipping the play effects, one of the cool things in my head that is interesting is, I guess this just kind of came to me, but like, right, you kill the Undying at fast speed for 3, and then you summon when you put the only 4-drop follower in your deck is the Crocodile. You summon the Crocodile, and it doesn't have to
That's
kill 2
true.
things.
That's true.
That's kind of cool.
That is, that's a pretty cool combo. That's better than anything I could have thought of at this moment. So
I mean, it's fun. It's just I don't know how. 3 mana is a lot, like I said, to do that. But you get the Undying back, and you get the Crocodile. So it's. I hate the freaking Crocodile. All right, moving on. We got Flurry of Fist, which is sick because it's got my freaking boy on the art, dude.
the horns.
Horns of the Dragon. Grant an ally +1/+0 and quick attack. Grant quick attack and +1/+0. Super solid for 3 mana.
Insanity.
Burst. I love this type of Ionia combo-y type of 6 spells like this. I love it so much. If it already has quick attack, you give it double attack. Insanity. I love it, dude. I want Zed with double attack and overwhelm, and I just want to blast people, dude.
Wait, I didn't see that this said Grant. I just had to fix my glasses because I was like, what?
Dude, it's so good. It's Grant. It gives something quick attack.
Yeah, when I read this up, I was like, oh, give an ally a +1 in quick attack, and then you said it, and I was like, it does say Grant. I was like, holy crap.
Dude. Super legit.
Has there been anything like Grant's quick attack? Like literally Grant's?
There's a bunch that just gives. I don't think there's anything like Grant's. Yeah, I can't think of anything like Grant's quick attack. There's a whole lot of give. Ionia even has a lot of access to giving quick attack. Noxus has some with the support unit and stuff like that. But yeah, this is sick. This card is awesome.
That is, that's amazing. I think that's kind of what Ionia needs to actually have other archetypes.
Yeah.
And that's a card like that just gives like such power. Like you just give quick attack to Darius, and then he just like get 2 turns of 10 attack overwhelm.
Yeah,
Some stupid stuff like that as a finisher is pretty insane. Anything that has overwhelm and you just give it quick attack, and then it doesn't have to worry about what it's trading into or
right.
anything. It's just like,
I love the
um,
like the aspect of like the Horns of the Dragon one turn kill and stuff is a fun deck that felt a lot more fair than Lee Sin ever did.
yeah,
And it's just fun, but like just supporting anything with Kato that already has quick attack is already a strong. So like you support Zed with quick attack or whatever, support anything
yeah,
with Kato, but then to just be like, oh by the way, that quick attack he had, he's like he's probably got +3 in overwhelm, so he's probably like a 7 attack or something like that. All right, cool. He's a 7 attack, quick attack. They put a chump blocker in. He's got overwhelm. All right, they're going to take 4 or
yeah.
5 damage. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, he's got double attack now, burst speed. And now he's like 7, which is like 4 damage first, and then 7 more. It's just
Yeah.
such a
Wait,
sick combo.
what's the card in Noxus that when you play it, it has Challenger and quick attack?
Oh, the new card. Yeah, yeah.
Does she keep quick attack or does she keep Challenger?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think she keeps quick attack.
Oh, she keeps quick attack. Okay,
I think
okay.
she has quick
I was
attack. She gets
I was gonna
challenger.
say
I could be
I was gonna
100%
say
wrong.
I haven't used that card yet, so I can't remember. But could you imagine if she only kept the Challenger? If you use this when you played her, if she would keep double attack forever, that
Yeah,
would be
really.
insane.
Yeah, seriously.
um, but what was I gonna
She
say?
does. She actually does keep challenger. She has challenger printed, so she gets quick attack on summon.
I wonder how that interaction
That's
will
a
work.
really weird interaction, yeah, because she has quick attack, so you grant her that she gets double attack. Does she keep double attack, or does double attack downgrade to quick attack?
Or does it
That's
just completely disappear?
that's Josh's turn one or day one homework assignment. That is
But
crazy.
Challenger with quick attack is pretty insane, and now you're just like giving complete access to having Challenger with quick
Yeah.
attack. So like one of the most like board stabilizing combos in the game is now can be a permanent
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
Um, so I'm really excited to see where that goes. I hope it sees play. I hope it gives it like Zed and Ionia a little bit of life, and
Yeah.
maybe even we'll see it with some challenger units, and we could have a nice Ionia tempo deck that
Yeah.
isn't
I'll
Freljord elusives.
I'll 100% be throwing this in some Ionia Noxus decks for sure. Super fun. We got 3 more cards and then we're done. Running a little long this time, so enjoy the content. This is
There's
probably
a
my
ton of
favorite.
stuff.
There's so much. This might be. I know Starbone. I'm like geeking about right now, but Powder Pandemonium is amazing. So you summon a Powder Monkey and give a random enemy vulnerable this round for each time that you've activated Plunder this entire game.
Does that mean infinite like powder monkeys possibly?
So yeah, I mean, essentially, if you've activated, it's a 4 mana slow spell. So say you've activated Plunder 6 times. If you spend this for 4, as soon as you spend that, you will get 6 Powder Monkeys, and every
That's
unit on your opponent's board will have
amazing.
vulnerable.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Yeah, I mean, right away, it's like, all right, even if you're on defense and you just have blocking monkeys, they're going to take Nexus damage if they attack or not, even if they're ephemeral. So they're just going to die.
Yeah, would love to just have a finisher of just 6 monkeys on the board and they just die to them
Yeah.
all blowing up.
Yeah.
That would be pretty funny. If you could just make a straight plunder deck, so you have the nab stuff in there.
Yeah.
Obviously you have the jagged butcher, anything that's plunder and Freljord, and then you could just end the game with a Dreadway and 6 monkeys,
Yeah.
or 5 monkeys. That would be absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, no, literally, it's insane. I think it's super fun. And, it's just I saw Lucia, our new mod, so shout out to her. She's awesome. She was talking about how it's kind of like the new harrowing, like for monkeys. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty
Yeah.
nuts. But it's also can be compared. I think Extranji in our Discord was comparing it to like kind of like the like a decimate almost, because like you're gonna get 5 damage at slow speed. Eventually you're gonna do 5 damage with the monkeys or whatever. However much board space you have, you're gonna deal that much damage with monkeys. So it's crazy. One thing to shout out is 4LW tournament player, super strong tournament player in the meta here. He tweeted out, if Jagged Taskmaster does not shine now, she never will. Because for real, right? I mean, you plunder, it triggers the plunder, you get more monkeys because of that, and they all have +1
Yeah,
attack.
I forgot that she even had plunder just because no one uses her.
Yeah,
But
because she sees no plunder.
that seems like one of the most fun decks I've. I could just imagine pulling off the combo and just like surrender button being hit because
Yep.
there's 3-2 monkeys on the board.
Look at my monkeys, baby. I mean, dude, it's so epic. Oh my god. All right, two more cards. But I could talk about Powder Pandemonium all day long.
Wait, troll gifts and oh my gosh, you could have the infinite monkey idol plus powder pandemonium.
You just gotta have cards that with plunder. You just gotta be playing your freaking
Oh
plunder
my
cards,
God.
dude. I'll
Oh
tell you,
my
we're gonna bring like
goodness.
sleight of hand back. We're gonna starve their hand. We're bringing it all, but plunder. Bilgewater's back, baby. Bilgewater's back. Uh,
I can't wait.
Wild Claws is nuts.
Yeah,
5 cost slow
yeah.
spell. This card's insane. An ally strikes an enemy. So your ally just strikes theirs. They don't strike each other.
Yeah.
If it has Overwhelm, you deal excess damage to the enemy nexus. So there's the Savage Reckoner in Noxus who has Challenger and Overwhelm. Essentially, this is what he does, right? He's a 7/4, 7-drop. He picks out their 1 health unit and he just plows their nexus for 6 damage. Now you can do it twice, right?
hmm
So this is what you pick whatever unit you want and you just freaking whirling death it and you deal all your excess damage to the nexus. I mean, it is slow, but it's powerful, dude.
Yeah, it definitely gives Noxus some reach. I can't see it being a 3 of, but if you're running Darius or, even Sejuani in her Sejuani Ash decks,
Yeah.
it could give you the push at the end just to, deal a little bit of extra overwhelm damage that you
Oh, for
need.
sure. Yeah.
It gives Noxus some reach, which is pretty terrifying. Because Noxus doesn't. I mean, it has reach for its burn, but when you're outside of that burn, it doesn't really have reach.
Yeah. Can you actually
So
play like a mid range between this and Flurry of Fist? Like, can you actually play like mid range Noxus now? Like, I think there's like a combo mid range Noxus deck, 100%.
yeah, maybe
Wait,
maybe
what are we
like
talking about, Josh? Dude, Flurry of the Fist on your freaking Blade of the Exiled Riven, right? Gets quick attack, gets double attack.
yeah, maybe Wild Claws is what Riven needs to finish games. Honestly,
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, it could be.
yeah, because like if you're ending your like if you're doing your turn using all of your reforged stuff, getting her to the crazy 8-10 attack or whatever it is, doing your attack, and then using Wild Claws to finish it off, it's possible. It's like a pseudo atrocity.
That's a really good comparison. Yeah.
It's definitely a pseudo atrocity. Obviously it's not fast. Obviously it doesn't kill your unit and do that, but it still can push damage
Yeah.
outside of just attacking.
And that's super
Um,
important for Overwhelm as a keyword, right? Overwhelm, one of the
yeah,
downsides of the keyword in general is that, yeah, you can only push damage on offense, right? But
yeah,
now this card lets you do it on defense, right? You're defensively just smacking something
yeah.
and they can
I
deal damage.
I wonder if the unit dies before this goes off, if it fizzles or if the overwhelm goes through the dead unit.
Oh, the unit you're targeting with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so if it worked like normal Overwhelm, right? That's what would happen. But then
I was
this is a
comparing
spell
it
now, so it's kind of weird.
I was comparing it to Lux's final spark,
That's a good
but
comparison, yeah.
I don't know how that's worded. Um,
The internet is like, how does Dragon's Rage work, right? Does Dragon's Rage, if the unit gets recalled or whatever, does he just strike the Nexus if he has Overwhelm or not? That's a kind of the
no,
same
oh,
comparison,
I
but
think that completely cancels, doesn't it?
yeah, so that might work that way. I'm not sure exactly. That's another interaction that we'll have to figure out.
Yeah,
But this is a great card. I mean, all of the one drop. These are spicy cards for these different regions that we're getting.
yeah,
That are pretty interesting. I mean, I feel like the Piltover Zone one might see some play. The Gluttony one has some funny options, and this Molten Breath one are interesting. But like to me, like the Bilgewater one, the Noxus one, and the Ionia one are all cards that you can build around, which are super
yes,
fun. So we got Molten Breath in honor of Mikey here. Last card. Dragons doing some stuff. 6 cost, slow spell. An ally with Fury strikes the 2 weakest enemies. So Mikey and I were actually talking earlier, and we were comparing it to Concerted Strike, because Concerted Strike's 5 cost, 2 of your units strike 1 enemy unit. So you have more range where you can get a bigger target down. You can do it at fast speed. But this card particularly means you need to have something with Fury on the board, which is always my Victor, by the way. It's always the first keyword I get is Fury. We have to have something with Fury on the board, and then that unit will strike individually the 2 opposing weakest units. I don't see this finding any play, personally.
no, it's not like dragons themselves have had a spot.
Right.
for long, I should say. And it's not like Mind Splitters in it anymore.
Yeah,
The Eclipse Dragon has seen play, and it's like if a Brilliant Soul's on the board, it's like you don't. I mean, you're not going to use it. It being six, being as expensive as the dragons that need to play to be able to use this, I can't see it being more than a one of, and that's just if like I don't know, you want to use the card.
that's where I'm at. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think it'll see a whole lot of play, but it's a fun card, for the dragon loving friends. We'll wrap up here as always. Like I said, guys, right at the top right of this image, Twitch Cosmic Plays, super awesome guy on Twitter, instantly puts these images up right away as soon as the official English Play Runterra account puts out different cards. He's instantly putting a all-in-one graphic on it. So if you don't follow him on Twitter, check it out, and that's his Twitch channel right there. Josh, that's pretty much everything we got to cover here.
That was a ton.
I mean, yeah, that's it, right? We got 13 new cards, and I mean, like almost 10 cards got touched up in the patch notes. So there was a lot of content this week.
Yes, there was. I'm very excited. I can't wait to deck build. I was struggling with deck building, but now new cards, new patch, crazy ideas. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely be back next week. We did take last week off to join Janky on his charity stream, which was a ton of fun. He put together a quiz for us, and he raised over $1,000 for
Yeah, it was
his
awesome.
charity. So that was super sweet. Awesome stream. He did 24 hours, and then he did a bonus 12-hour stream the next day in a French maid costume. So if you missed that, make sure to check the VOD. That was
Yeah,
a good one.
it was. He's supposed to be doing a sea shanty for me in the French maid costume,
Oh, that's happening?
but yeah, it's supposed to be happening. But he said when he gets the time. So
Okay.
I don't know when that is going to be happening.
When he gets the time. We'll see when he gets the time, but when he does, we will be there watching that sea shanty. Josh, any other final words?
Thank you forever who is watching the live stream and whoever listens. I know we ran a little bit long, but I think this content was definitely well worth it. So thank you forever whoever is tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We appreciate it. We'll be back next week. Like I said, you can catch this on YouTube, Twitter, SoundCloud. You can catch this on Apple, Spotify,
Everything.
Podbean, literally everything that you can find podcasts on, you can find it. But now also on video, YouTube. Hopefully the stream's working out. I'm still having some lag issues, a little bit of drops here and there, but I think mostly settled out to a degree. So hopefully it is watchable and enjoyable. And guys, enjoy your week. We'll be back next week probably with a whole lot of new brews to talk about.
I definitely will be trying a ton.
We'll be here. All right, we'll catch you guys next week.
See you.
Peace.